The imperial palace of Vienna, with its gold-embossed ceilings and pristine marble hallways, had never felt so cold to Zara Griffith. Standing rigid in her yellow silk gown among the other ladies in waiting, she fixed her gaze on the ornate double doors of the grand ballroom. Emperor Franz Joseph had declared a week of celebrations for the imperial wedding, and tonight's ball would be the pinnacle, the first public appearance of Crown Prince Frederick Quentin and his new bride, Duchess Elena Maximova of Montenegro. The orchestra played a waltz, but Zara barely heard it through the rushing in her ears. 3 years she had served in the imperial court as companion to the emperor's niece. 3 years she had watched Frederick from a careful distance, exchanging glances across crowded rooms, sharing brief conversations in palace corridors that left her heart racing for days afterward. "You're as pale as the Empress's famous pearls," whispered Lady Sophia beside her. "Are you unwell?" Zara forced her lips into the smile she had been practicing for weeks. Merely tired from all the preparations, she replied. "It's been a demanding month for all the household." The trumpets sounded, and the room fell silent as the master of ceremonies announced the imperial couple's entrance. Crown Prince Frederick stood tall in his white military uniform, medals gleaming across his chest, his dark hair combed back from his forehead. The bride on his arm was resplendent in ivory satin embroidered with silver thread, her veil held in place by the Habsburg diamond tiara. Zara's practiced smile never faltered. She curtsied deeply with the other ladies as the couple passed. When she rose, Frederick's eyes met hers for the briefest moment, so brief that no one else would have noticed, before moving on. Later, as the dancing began, Zara took her position near the refreshment table, assisting the elderly Countess Amalia. The Emperor himself approached, his weathered face kind beneath his iconic white whiskers. "Miss Griffith," he said, nodding slightly. "You've been an invaluable addition to my niece's household." "Your Majesty honors me," she responded with another curtsy. "I wonder," he continued, his voice lowered, "if you might assist with a matter requiring discretion. The Empress has received some troubling correspondence from our Budapest residence. I need someone with a level head to sort through it before it causes unnecessary alarm." "Of course, Your Majesty." "Good. You'll depart tomorrow. Count Esterhazy will provide the details." As the Emperor moved away, Zara felt relief wash over her. Budapest was far enough from Vienna to escape the wedding celebrations. Far enough to breathe without feeling as though her chest might crack open. The following morning, as her luggage was being loaded onto the imperial train, a footman approached with an envelope bearing the Crown Prince's seal. "His Imperial Highness asked that this be delivered to you personally, Miss Griffith." Zara's hands trembled as she took it, waiting until she was alone in her train compartment to break the seal. "Zara, I saw your face last night, though you tried admirably to hide your thoughts. Political necessities have their own cruel logic that even princes must obey. I hope that time and distance will heal what cannot be mended through explanation. I entrust the Emperor with your care in Budapest. The Empress's correspondence is, in fact, a delicate diplomatic matter that requires exactly your particular talents. Thank you for accepting." She folded the note carefully and tucked it into her book. Outside the window, Vienna's spires receded into the morning mist. Budapest's magnificent parliament building glowed golden in the late afternoon sun as Zara's carriage crossed the chain bridge over the Danube. Count Esterhazy, a thin man with intelligent eyes, met her at the royal residence. "Miss Griffith, welcome. The Emperor speaks highly of your discretion." He led her through marble corridors to a small study. "What do you know of the current tensions with Serbia?" "Only what appears in the newspapers, Count." "Then you know almost nothing of value." He unlocked a cabinet and withdrew a leather portfolio. "A network of our agents has been intercepting communications between certain revolutionary elements. one of our most reliable informants has gone silent. His last message indicated he had crucial information about an assassination plot against Archduke Ferdinand. Zara's eyes widened. And my role in this matter? You'll be working with the informant's sister, a lady-in-waiting to the Serbian ambassador's wife. The two of you will meet as social acquaintances. She doesn't trust our male agents anymore, but we believe she'll speak to you. I see. Zara's mind raced. Does the Emperor truly believe I'm suited to this? Esterhazy's expression softened slightly. It wasn't the Emperor who suggested you for this assignment, Miss Griffith. It was Crown Prince Frederick. He said you had a remarkable capacity for understanding people's unspoken motives. The revelation stole her breath. While she had been nursing her broken heart, Frederick had been noticing her abilities, seeing value in her beyond what she had imagined. Over the next weeks, Zara attended teas, gallery openings, and musical evenings where Belgrade's diplomatic community mingled with Budapest's aristocracy. She finally met Milena Petrovich at a charity concert, a dark-haired woman whose nervous hands betrayed her outward calm. After several carefully orchestrated encounters, Milena invited Zara to walk with her in the public gardens. Away from listening ears, she finally spoke of her brother. Ivan isn't dead, but he might as well be. They're holding him in Belgrade. They discovered he was passing information, but they don't know to whom. Her voice shook. He managed to send me one message before they took him. There's a group called the Black Hand planning something terrible at the Archduke's visit to Sarajevo next summer. Can you help us reach him? It's impossible. But before he was caught, he hid his code book and evidence in our family's summer home near the border. If I go there, they'll follow me. But you, Milena studied Zara's face. You could travel as a tourist. No one would suspect an English lady's companion from the Austrian court. 2 days later, Zara was on a train bound for the Serbian countryside, her heart pounding with every border checkpoint. Count Esterhazy had provided her with impeccable travel documents identifying her as a British citizen on a painting holiday. At a small provincial station, a carriage waited to take her to a modest hunting lodge where she would meet her local contact. The driver said nothing during the hour-long journey through increasingly remote forest paths. When they arrived, Zara found not the expected local guide, but Crown Prince Frederick himself, dressed in civilian clothes, standing on the porch. She nearly stumbled as she descended from the carriage. "Your Imperial Highness," she gasped. "I don't understand." Frederick dismissed the driver before responding. "I couldn't send you into potential danger without ensuring your safety myself." He led her inside the rustic but comfortable lodge. "This operation is too sensitive to entrust to regular channels. Only the Emperor knows I'm here. And your wife." The words escaped before Zara could stop them. Frederick's expression tightened. "The Duchess is attending her sister's wedding in Montenegro. Our marriages." He paused, searching for words. "It is what it must be for the Empire." They spent the evening reviewing maps and planning their excursion to the Petrovich summer home. The easy camaraderie they had once known in Vienna gradually returned as they worked, though both carefully avoided any mention of personal matters. At dawn, they set out disguised as a wealthy tourist couple on a countryside excursion. Their carriage took them across the border with papers identifying Frederick as Frank Quincy, an American businessman. The Serbian guards barely glanced at their documentation. The Petrovich summer home stood abandoned, its gardens overgrown. Under the pretense of sketching the picturesque ruins, Zara kept watch while Frederick searched the house. After an hour, he emerged with a small oilskin package. Found within a hollowed Bible, he whispered as they returned to their carriage. Their journey back was tense with anticipation, but they passed the border without incident. Only when they were safely returned to the hunting lodge did Frederick break the seals on the package. Inside was a list of names, government officials, military officers, and aristocrats from across Europe, all allegedly part of the Black Hand conspiracy. Among them, shockingly, was a name they both recognized, Count Rudolf Heinzmann, the Emperor's own military advisor. "This changes everything," Frederick said, his voice hollow. "If Heinzmann is involved, then the threat reaches into the heart of your grandfather's court," Zara finished. That night, as a summer storm lashed against the windows, they sat before the fire translating encoded documents from Ivan's package. The intimate setting, the isolation, the danger they shared, the crackling fire, made it increasingly difficult for Zara to maintain her careful composure. "I never wanted to marry her," Frederick said suddenly, breaking their focused silence. "I need you to know that." Zara kept her eyes on the document before her. "Your Highness, please." "We needn't discuss. I've thought about you every day since the wedding," he continued, as if she hadn't spoken. "When this assassination plot came to light, I knew you were the only person I could trust completely. Not just for your abilities, but for your heart." She finally looked up, allowing herself to meet his gaze. "I've tried very hard not to care." "I know. You've hidden it well from everyone else." His hand covered hers on the table. "But not from me." A loud knocking at the door shattered the moment. Frederick immediately reached for his pistol, motioning for Zara to take the documents and hide. The knocking came again, more insistent. "Imperial messenger," called a voice outside. Frederick approached cautiously, keeping Zara behind him as he opened the door. A rain-soaked courier in imperial livery stood on the threshold, extending a sealed envelope. "From His Imperial Majesty, urgent," the man said, bowing. After the messenger departed, Frederick broke the seal. His face darkened as he read, "My grandfather has suffered a minor stroke. He's stable, but I'm commanded to return to Vienna immediately." He handed Zara the letter. "There's more. Heinzmann was found dead in his chambers this morning, an apparent suicide. Or someone silenced him when they discovered Ivan's information was compromised," Zara suggested. Frederick nodded grimly. "We leave for Vienna at first light." The imperial train sped through the countryside the next day, its passengers tense with unresolved questions. In a private compartment, Frederick and Zara pored over the evidence they had gathered, speaking in hushed tones. "Heinzmann must have had confederates at court," Frederick said. "Until we identify them, we can trust no one." "What will you tell the Emperor?" "Everything, once I'm certain he's well enough. But first, I must ensure your safety." Zara shook her head. "I'm not important in this." Frederick's hand closed around hers. "You're everything in this. If anything happened to you because of my actions." The train whistle blew, announcing their approach to Vienna. Frederick reluctantly released her hand. "When we arrive, you'll return to my cousin's household as if nothing has happened. I'll arrange for Count Esterhazy to debrief you officially about the Empress's correspondence tomorrow." His eyes held hers. "But this isn't over, Zara. Not the conspiracy, and not the other matter." Upon their return to Vienna, the imperial palace was abuzz with gossip about the Emperor's health and Count Heinzmann's shocking death. Duchess Elena had cut short her visit to Montenegro to return to her husband's side, playing the role of devoted wife perfectly. From her position in the shadows of court life, Zara observed the Duchess's calculating ambition. Elena clearly saw her marriage as a step toward greater power, cultivating allies among the conservative faction that still resented the Emperor's Hungarian compromises. 2 weeks after their return, as the Emperor recovered, Zara received a note requesting her presence in the palace library that evening. She arrived to find Frederick alone among the towering bookshelves. "I've identified 3 more conspirators," he said without preamble. "All connected to my wife's circle." Zara's blood ran cold. "Does she know about the plot?" "I don't believe so. But she's been used by those who do." He paced between the shelves. "I've shared everything with my grandfather. He's authorized me to create a special investigative council, answerable only to him. That's welcome news. I want you on this council, Zara." She stared at him. "Me? I'm just a lady's companion. You're the most perceptive, intelligent person I know. And the only one besides my grandfather I trust implicitly." His voice softened. "Say yes." Before she could answer, the library door opened. Duchess Helena stood in the doorway, her face a perfect mask of polite surprise. "Frederick, darling, I've been looking everywhere for you. The Spanish ambassador has arrived." Her eyes flickered to Zara. "Miss Griffith, isn't it? How curious to find you here." "Miss Griffith has been assisting me with research for a project the Emperor has assigned me," Frederick said smoothly. "How dedicated." Helena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "But I'm afraid I must steal my husband away. Duty calls." As they left, Helena's arm possessively linked through Frederick's, the Duchess glanced back at Zara with a look that made her position abundantly clear. The following day, Zara was summoned to the Duchess's private apartments. Helena sat at her writing desk, a stack of letters before her. "Miss Griffith, I understand you're quite accomplished with languages." "I speak several, Your Imperial Highness." "Excellent. I need assistance with my correspondence to Montenegro. My secretary has taken ill." She indicated a chair nearby. "You'll translate as I dictate." For 2 hours, Zara dutifully transcribed mundane family letters. As they finished, Helena casually remarked, "I understand you accompanied my husband to Hungary recently." Zara kept her expression neutral. "I was sent to Budapest on an errand for the Emperor, Your Highness. I believe the Crown Prince was there on separate business." "Of course." Helena studied her with calculating eyes. "My husband speaks highly of your abilities." "Very highly. His Imperial Highness is generous in his assessment." "Indeed." "Too generous, perhaps." Helena rose, signaling the end of their meeting. "You may go, Miss Griffith. I'll require your assistance again tomorrow." It became clear in the following days that Helena was keeping Zara occupied, unwatched. The Duchess assigned her endless tasks that kept her from any contact with Frederick or the investigation council he was forming. Meanwhile, the plot against Archduke Ferdinand continued to unfold. Through careful messages passed via Count Esterhazy, Zara learned that Frederick had identified most of the conspirators at court but still lacked crucial details about the planned assassination. One evening, while organizing the Duchess's correspondence, Zara noticed a letter partially concealed beneath others. The handwriting matched samples Frederick had shown her from the Black Hand communications. Heart racing, she managed to glimpse only a fragment, a reference to Sarajevo, and June 28th, before Helena returned unexpectedly. That night, Zara wrote an urgent message to Frederick about her discovery. She gave it to her most trusted lady's maid to deliver, but the girl returned an hour later, face pale with fear. "The palace guard stopped me, my lady. They took your note and said I was to tell no one." By morning, Zara found herself reassigned. The Emperor's secretary informed her that her services were no longer required in the Duchess's household. Instead, she was being sent to the Imperial summer residence at Bad Ischl, effectively exiled from court. As her carriage prepared to depart, Count Esterhazy appeared. "Walk with me a moment, Miss Griffith," he said formally, offering his arm. Once out of earshot, he whispered, "The Crown Prince is aware of your situation. Trust no one at Bad Iskall. Wait for my signal." The imperial summer residence, nestled among the Alps, would normally have been a welcome retreat. Instead, it felt like a gilded prison. Zara was given comfortable rooms and nominal duties assisting the housekeeper, but she knew she was being watched. Guards for her protection followed her on her daily walks. A week passed with no word from Vienna. Then, during an afternoon thunderstorm, a palace gardener approached her in the conservatory, pretending to tend the plants. "The Lake Pavilion, midnight," he murmured, never looking at her directly. The guards changed shifts at 11:50. That night, Zara slipped from her room during the guards' rotation. The rain had stopped, but clouds still obscured the moon as she made her way through the gardens to the small pavilion overlooking the lake. A figure emerged from the shadows as she approached, not Esterhazy as she had expected, but Frederick himself. He quickly drew her inside. "Thank God you're safe," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "When I learned Elena had intercepted your message." "How did you get here?" "The risk was necessary." His hands framed her face. "The conspiracy reaches higher than we imagined. Elena's uncle, General Petrovich, is coordinating with the Black Hand. They plan to kill Ferdinand and his wife during their Sarajevo visit next month. Your wife knows this. She's been an unwitting conduit. But now she suspects something, which makes her dangerous." His thumbs brushed her cheekbones. "Zara, I'm getting you out of Austria tonight. I have a carriage waiting to take you to Switzerland." She pulled back, shaking her head. "I won't run while you remain in danger." "This isn't a request. It's the only way to keep you safe until..." A twig snapped outside. Frederick immediately pushed Zara behind him, drawing his pistol. The pavilion door opened to reveal Duchess Helena, flanked by 2 guards. "I thought I might find you here, husband," she said coldly. "How devoted you are to your subjects." Frederick kept his weapon raised. "Tell your men to stand down, Elena." "I think not." She entered the pavilion, her silk cloak gleaming in the dim light. "I've been a fool, haven't I? I believed you were merely infatuated with your English rose. But it's far worse, you've both been conspiring against my family." "Your family is conspiring against the Empire," Frederick replied. "Your uncle plans to murder my cousin Ferdinand." Elena's composure faltered momentarily. "Lies. We have proof. Your uncle leads the Black Hand." Frederick took a step forward. "Did you know, Elena? Or were you simply a convenient tool?" Uncertainty crossed her face. "My uncle is a patriot. He would never..." "Ask yourself why he was so eager for our marriage. Why he insisted you correspond regularly. You've been carrying their messages, coded within your innocent letters." The Duchess's mask cracked entirely. "No. That's not possible. The cipher was in the embroidery patterns you exchanged with your sister. Patterns your uncle designed." Elena sank onto a bench, her face ashen. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear it." Frederick lowered his weapon slightly. "Then help us stop this before it's too late." For a long moment, Elena stared at the floor. Then she looked up, her decision made. "Guards, leave us. Return to the house." After they departed, Elena squared her shoulders. "What do you need me to do?" The next weeks unfolded in a carefully choreographed dance of diplomacy and deception. With Elena's reluctant cooperation, Frederick and Zara worked through Esterhazy to unravel the conspiracy. They identified all the plotters at court and arranged for the emperor to send Ferdinand a private warning about Sarajevo. But their efforts came at a price. To maintain appearances and protect their operation, Frederick and Elena presented themselves as a united couple at court functions. Zara was reinstated to the Duchess's household, where she watched their public intimacy with practiced indifference. On June 27, 1914, the night before Ferdinand's scheduled appearance in Sarajevo, Frederick summoned both women to his private study. His face was grim. Ferdinand has ignored the warnings. He insists on proceeding with the visit tomorrow. He paced the room. I dispatched our best security detail, but I fear it won't be enough. Elena, who had grown increasingly cooperative as the full extent of her uncle's treachery became clear, asked, "Can't the emperor order him not to go?" "My grandfather tried." "Ferdinand believes we're overreacting." Frederick stopped before a map of Europe pinned to the wall. "If anything happens to him, the consequences will be catastrophic." Zara studied the map, an idea forming. What if we could get a message directly to the Archduke's wife? Sophie adores him, but she's more practical. It might work, Elena said slowly. She and I corresponded frequently after my marriage. She might heed a warning from me. Frederick nodded decisively. Write to her immediately. I'll have it delivered tonight by our fastest courier. As Elena left to compose the letter, Frederick turned to Zara. If this fails... It won't, she assured him, though her heart was heavy with doubt. They waited through the night for news, the three of them bound by secrets and danger in a way none could have imagined months earlier. At dawn, a telegram arrived from Sarajevo. Ferdinand's security detail had discovered and neutralized 2 assassins along the planned route. The Archduke, heeding Sophie's insistence after receiving Elena's letter, had altered his schedule. The threat, for now, had passed. In the relieved aftermath, Elena surprised them both. "I'm returning to Montenegro," she announced, her voice steady. "My position here is untenable now." Frederick frowned. "Elena, please." She held up a hand. "We both know our marriage was never more than political. I've arranged matters with my family. They'll welcome me back without scandal." Her gaze shifted between them. "I'm requesting an annulment on grounds never consummated." The implications hung in the air. An annulment would mean Frederick had never truly been married, a fiction, but one that would preserve everyone's dignity. "You don't have to do this," Zara said softly. Elena's smile held a touch of sadness. "I think I do, Miss Griffith. For all our sakes." 2 months later, as summer faded into autumn, Zara stood in the imperial rose garden watching golden leaves drift across immaculate pathways. The emperor had approved Elena's return to Montenegro, and the discreet annulment proceedings were nearly complete. The Black Hand conspirators had been arrested or exiled, though tensions with Serbia remained high. She heard footsteps on the gravel path and turned to find Frederick approaching. He wore civilian clothes, his only concession to rank a small imperial pin at his collar. "The emperor has asked me to represent him at the Budapest trade delegation next month," he said without preamble. "I told him I would accept on one condition." "And what was that?" "That I not travel alone." He took her hands in his. "Zara Griffith, you've pretended not to care for too long. Even when I married another, you stood by your principles and your duty. You saved my cousin's life and quite possibly prevented a war." She found herself trembling. "Frederick, I know your heart," he said gently. "I've always known it, even when you thought it was your best-kept secret. Will you finally stop pretending?" The autumn sunlight caught in his eyes as she finally allowed herself to speak the truth. I never stopped caring. Not for a single moment. His smile then was worth every day of hiding, every night of heartache. As his lips met hers among the falling leaves, Zara knew that some secrets, once revealed, become the foundations of something far greater than the silence that protected them.